those times where the trailer doesn't want to quite cooperate. Hello and welcome to today's Sunday Night Live. Sometimes the trailer goes on when it's supposed to. Other times there's a little bit of lag in the internet service, and you end up seeing the people before you end up seeing the trailer. But here we are. So my special guests today are David Munford and John Frazier. Glenda Frazier was going to be on the show but couldn't make it tonight. So we're going to get through. Now, today's show is about the service department. All right, fixed ops is something we all love. It's your opportunity to make money in the dealership. And on the service side, I'm always interested to see both sides of it. We've got David, who is relatively new to the business. He'll go into his background a little bit. And we've got John Frazier, who's a veteran in the business. And I've been in the business for a number of years as well. So it's always nice to see what motivates somebody to come in, what are their expectations when they come in, and how are those expectations either met or exceeded, or maybe different. And then on the fixed ops director side, John's somebody that's been there, done that, has built teams, has rebuilt teams, and done what's been necessary to achieve the type of results he needs to achieve. He's a guy that's not afraid to tear the engine apart to make sure it runs properly. Because if you run with a skip in the engine for too long, the engine's going to blow anyway. So why not do it the right way? So gentlemen, welcome to the show and thank you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Now, just before we get started, I want you to know that in the screen here, if you click on the comments button, you'll see the comments in real time appear. So any questions that come up, feel free to jump in and answer those. And I may say, hey, hold on a second, we got a couple things coming in. Like the first one from David Vogel that says, Paul, David, John, happy Father's Day. If John's a veteran, does that make him a dinosaur?
I don't know, Mike. I don't know.
So let's start with David. What on earth would possess you to want to get into this business?
What started to get me in this business is about 2 years ago, I was working at Amazon for 4.5 years and needed to move closer to home and was just looking for almost a different career to get in. I applied with Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I always kind of like tinkering with cars and doing stuff with cars. So started there for a year and got my feet wet in the industry there. And then things were kind of getting a little dicey at home and I needed to move closer to home because I was working so much. So I put in several job applications at places up here in Cleveland. And lo and behold, the door opened for me to join the team at Toyota of Cleveland in Cleveland, Tennessee. And they have showed me more than a job. It is a true family. They have shown me everything that I would think a job would want to be what a job should be, and a career, and have went above and beyond supporting me the last year and a half that I've been there. They have trained me more than I've ever had for any job. So it was just kind of always a joy of wanting to work on cars, and then the opportunity opened up for me to be a service advisor, and that has been a whirlwind of a career in the last year of being kind of not really thrown into it, but saw that I could do it, and they believed in me to do it, and I've got out there and I've done extremely well. And
now, one question I have to ask you. And nobody ever gets told this, and I haven't asked anybody this, or I haven't asked you this yet, I don't believe. Okay. But everybody that gets into this business, the people that bring them in always fail to ask this one, or give you this one particular disclaimer. Did anybody tell you when you started that nobody, and I do mean nobody, ever gets out of this business alive?
No, no, because I've tried to, I've joked around leaving a couple times, and they're like, get no, back out now. You're no. There's no leaving. You're stuck.
Nobody tells you that.
No, and I wouldn't want to leave. Honestly, the group of guys I work with, my general manager, everybody from the BDC all the way to everybody is so supportive and so awesome to work with that I wouldn't even think about leaving this job. I wouldn't want to leave this job.
When you start, the first thing that most places when you start is, okay, so now you've got to get certified, you need to take a bunch of modules, you need to pass a bunch of tests, and then, is that pretty typical of your experience?
Yeah, it was pretty typical.
And then after that?
And then after that, they trained me. I was going to be training for they were going to train me for a couple weeks to get my feet wet. I probably did training for like a week, maybe.
Yeah.
And I had done so well. They saw that I was picking up so well. They're like, okay, go do it.
So
Go.
Talk to me about the training.
The training was just kind of showing me how to walk, how to write up a vehicle, how to use Reynolds, how to use Dealer Daily, how to do it the correct way.
Yeah.
All the steps I would need to be successful in it. And from there, there's been some other trainings throughout the day, through other trainings, but most of it was on the job, day-to-day training.
Now, probably the Reynolds piece of it was probably the most difficult, I'm going to guess.
Yes, that is. Now I got back to work I just came back to work in the past 2 weeks, but I still picked it up pretty easily, and I'm learning. It was second nature, because once you learn it, it's kind of like riding a bike. You learn it once, it's ingrained in you, and
The people that use it love it, and the funny part is because they know and they memorize all the codes, right? Which codes you need to hit to go where you need to go.
Yep.
Even the people that go to the new version of it, which is more like a Windows based, those people end up reverting back to the blue screen because they know the codes and it seems to be a lot faster for them.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to pick up the Reynolds piece of it?
Not very long. Not maybe a couple weeks.
That's pretty good.
Not very long, because all the guys I had took me step by step and said, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. And they didn't just throw me out there. They showed me step by step how to do it the correct way.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't struggle. I wouldn't have any problems with it.
What about the service drive piece of it, the service drive training? Is that in as well?
Pretty much. I have been to the Jeff Cowan workshop, so I learned there some. And then some of it I just do on my own. I just kind of being involved with the F.A.S.T Mastermind group, doing some training on my own. Anything I can find that I don't get at work, I try to find some additional training to help myself, to better myself when I'm there and make it even better. So it's kind of on it.
Now, John, you've seen a number of new advisors come into the business, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they're just about any job you go into, there's a handful of people that really embrace it and really run with it. Then you've got a handful of people that they're there, but they're not quite sure why they're there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, David's got an incredible attitude. You know, how many guys you see come in like David that are this charged and ready to go?
Well, that's the key. I mean, coming into this business, you have to have the will, you have to have the want and the desire to do it, because it's the training that typically goes on in fixed ops is unlike any other industry. You know, I would say most any fast food restaurant puts more into orientation and training their people than most dealerships do when it comes to the service drive. Because that's how it was for me when I first got into it. Before the car business, I was selling vacuum cleaners door to door, and my dad was a technician. He was always in dealership, so he was working at a Hyundai dealership at that time, and they had an opening on the service drive. So I thought, if I could sell a $2,000 vacuum cleaner, I could probably sell an air filter and a tune-up. And so I signed up for it. I got the job. Literally the first day, the service manager gives me a yellow notepad and a pen, and he points to the service drive. He says, "Hey, stand out there. When a customer drives up, you write it all down, and then this guy over here is going to show you how to write a ticket." That was my training. And the guy that was showing me how to write a ticket, I watched him tell a lady one day to just put a piece of tape over her check engine light because she was coming back on. And this was the guy that was teaching me the business. And
No.
anyways,
It happens, David. It happens.
There were plenty of things that happened in those first 3 months of me working there that I should have just tucked tail and ran away from the business, because a lot of discouraging moments, didn't understand the pay plan, op codes, and it was Reynolds. And if anybody knows Reynolds, you can hardly memorize Reynolds op codes because they're typically about this long. And so there was a lot of things to discourage me, but I kept up with it. And I'm a people person. I enjoyed talking to the customers and solving their issues. And so I started back in 06 on the blue screen with Reynolds. In 09, a dealer group bought us. We went to CDK. And then in a year, that dealer group changed to Dealer Track. So from 2006 to 2009, 10, I'd already been using 3 different DMSs. And so then I learned autos. What's that?
And they're all different.
Yeah, and they all have their unique qualities. I used all these different DMSs going forward, like Automotive and AutoSoft and PBS. But what I saw once I became a service manager, as new people came into it, there's rarely any structure for a new advisor. A lot of dealerships inundate the service drive with so many different pieces of software. So we have a tablet system. You set your appointments over here. You have the DMS, and this is where you write the ROs and where you book the ROs. And it in itself, I mean, you got one screen to write the RO, another one to dispatch the RO, another one to flag and book the RO, another screen to write purchase orders. The DMS in itself is enough to overwhelm most anybody I've seen come into the business. And then you have different CRMs and texting tools, and now we have, video, multi-points. I mean, it's overwhelming. So what I see is the biggest drawback is a new person, especially that's never been in the business. A lot of dealers don't have a process as to, we're going to teach you. They don't break it down in sections. We're going to teach you this, and then this, and then this. It's just kind of like, hey, here's all your logins. Good luck. Some of these, we'll see you at the end of the day. Hope you're still here.
I can tell you on the sales side of it, a lot of times they weren't there at the end of the day. The demo, they'd go to lunch, and then nobody would see the new guy for a while. And then all of a sudden they went, hey, you know what? The new guy's car's in front. You go in front, it's the new guy's demo, the plate's still on the back of the car, and the key's in the ignition, and they're gone. You never see or hear from them again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we got a couple of notes here coming in. So we left off with Mike Vogel thinking that makes you a dinosaur. So we're all dinosaurs here. And Kenneth Dunner, Paul, David, John, you 3 gentlemen look so damn scrumptiously delicious, utterly tasty good on the house tonight. I love this guy. And let's see, Michael Landis, hello everyone. Hey Michael, how are you? And Mike Vogel, it's the Mafia. Paul Meyer, once you're in, you're a lifer. Hey, they're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Nobody ever does. Mark Williamson says trial by fire training is the best. I hear you, brother. I've been there, done that myself, many times, many different places. And Mike Vogel says, John Frazier and I agree that it's all in the setup, whether it's for the DMS or outside vendor. Absolutely, proper setup gives you proper result. Hold on a second. Yeah, my wife says, now you can't leave. From that movie, if you guys have seen that. It's her favorite movie. Gene Girdley, hi all, checking in. Kelly Williams, hello all, hey. Gene Girdley says, so happy to hear from both these great guys. Thank you. Yeah, well, you know what? They're great guys, which is why I wanted to have them on tonight. Kenneth says, my check engine light issue took more than putting tape over the indicator light. Well, Ken, if you actually fix it, it usually does. Ed Roberts says, you usually get out what you put in. If you don't train your staff, you'll always be looking for new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Awesome. So you've shared some of the things that you see, John. David, does any of that look a little bit like, wow, yeah, kind of?
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing about this business, right?
It is.
Now, what I like about you is that you reach out for help. A lot of people there's an Italian word called gabados, which means thick-headed. They want to learn it their way, no matter how many times it takes them, no matter how long it takes them. However, with groups like the Fixed Ops Roundtable, with groups like the Fixed Ops Mastermind, and even forums like this, where there are people that have been in the business for decades upon decades. Yes, Mike Vogel, we are old. You reach out to people to find out stuff. So, you know, you're benefiting from everybody's experience in building your machine. And that's an awesome thing. So a year and a half, you said you're in the cars?
At Toyota, I've been there a year and a half. Altogether, starting with Valvoline and everything, I've been in the industry since I think March of 18.
Okay.
When I got really into it as a career.
But the great thing about the aftermarket, in my opinion, the aftermarket, you get great people building skills.
Yeah.
You know, because you're dealing with a lot of people. It's a pressure cooker environment. Everybody that gets there expects to be in and out in no time. And somehow, some way, in the aftermarket, get it done.
Yeah.
Dealers are getting better. But by and large, there are still extra layers at the dealership that you don't have at the Valvolines or the aftermarket shops. Right?
Yep.
When you add layers, you add time. You know, it's really that simple. So tell us a little bit more about some of the experiences that you've found difficult at first, that you were able to overcome, and where do you see your direction heading?
When I started at Toyota, I started as a tech because that's what was available, and I had no thought of even being on the service drive because I was just going in as a tech, and that's what I was going to do. And things were changing, and they actually, when I started, I was only a tech for maybe 2 or 3 months, not very long. And we had some changes, and they called me in the office, and I thought, okay, I'm the new guy. I'm going to have to be leaving. But I've been told, hey, they're watching you. They love your hard work. They love your drive. They love your motivation. You need to keep doing what you're doing. Well, they called me in the office, and they offered me the service job position. And since I had already had a little bit of background on being a service advisor or working with customers and knowing the process, they're like, "Oh, you're perfect for this. You're perfect for this position. We want you in this position." So I took it, and since I already had a little bit of foundation laid. That's not what took me very long to pick it up. And when our general manager found out that I was doing I deal mainly with the quick lube, the TXM customers, the brand new customers. And when he found out I was in that position finally, he was thrilled that he had a conductor running that train because they needed somebody with motivated to do it. And I I haven't really had too many, other than some your customers that are kind of a little difficult to deal with at times. I've not really had any difficulties because I've got such a good support staff behind me, and with the general manager and with everybody else. There's not really a hard day at work, other than some of the customers I may have to deal with. I've not really had a hard day, and now since I'm back at work since the COVID things, I'm even doing more now because they saw what I was capable of. Now they're like, okay, go do it now. Run with it. Run the ball. Do what you want to do. Write up whatever you want to write. So now I'm learning the warranty stuff. I'm learning everything else. And it's actually a new adventure, and every day is different for me. And I love going into work because I'm like, okay, what do I get to do today? Who am I going to get to talk to today? And what service I'm going to get to write up today that I didn't get to write up the day before? And a lot of the guys are like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, how are you making as much as you're doing? Or how are you getting these sales? I'm like, I'm just real with the customers. I tell them what they need, and they're like, okay, do it. Whatever. Go do it.
Well, the warranty stuff is cool. And a lot of dealerships struggle with warranty because they don't follow the process, right? They don't document the complaint properly, the correction, any of that stuff. And then stuff comes back later to bite them.
Yeah. And we're very careful of making sure the stories and the documentation is totally correct before we send it off, because I'm starting to learn. I haven't done a whole lot of the warranty stuff yet.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to learn the correct way to do that, because I definitely don't want something to come back on our dealership and something to happen. So I'm starting to learn that. But
it's such a big issue for so many stores that there are OEMs, I won't mention any names, that actually put together large trainings specifically to teach their dealers the proper process on warranty, and to not abuse warranty, to not overuse particular codes in some cases, like somebody's transmission codes, right? Their car comes in, oh, it's that code. Well, no, not necessarily. The percentage of codes in some dealerships is not quite what it should be, and that's all stuff that ends up hurting them later. Now, we've got a couple of comments coming in on the side here. Gene Girdley says, how did your management feel about you learning from outside sources like the mastermind when you were on furlough? That's a question for David.
Oh, it was actually a pretty funny story. I went up to visit when I was on furlough. They told me, hey, if you want to come back and visit, come back and visit. Come back and hang out and just shoot shit with us. So I would go up there and hang out with us. And when I started in the Fix-Up Mastermind, I told them, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is it okay with it? And my boss and the owner of the company stopped and looked at me. They're like, you're doing what? I said, I'm in a Fix-Up Mastermind for the automotive dealership so I can learn from other guys of how to better myself. They're like, one question, are you using your personal email? I was like, yeah, I'm using my personal email. They're like, okay, we've never had anybody ever do that before. If you're using your personal email and you're keeping it PG and you're keeping it respectable, we can't stop you. I said, that's amazing that you want to do that. And I just want to better myself. I was like, what can I do to be better? To be back in school, or go back to school, or do something for additional training, because they give me training at work, but I wanted more. I needed something a little bit more to learn how to be better down the road, and wherever this leads me, I'll know more to do. and I'll have better support team around everywhere else. So everybody was awesome. Then when I told my general manager that I was doing these podcasts, he was like, "How did you do that? How did you get connected?" I said, "Getting out there and talking to people, getting out there and finding people that's doing it." He's like, "I've never had anybody do that. We've never had people wanting to do that." So it's just.
But that's why I wanted you on, David, because he's right. There's not, John, tell me if I'm wrong, but how many guys will actually go on their own time and do this kind of stuff?
It's very few. You can hardly get them to do the required courses that you need them to take, let alone extracurricular.
Yeah. Right? How many times, like, when you're approaching the deadline, are you harassing the guys? Say, listen, you got to get this courses done, because if you don't get it done and we don't get our bonus money because we don't have a certain percentage of people that are certified, you're out, and we're going to come get the money from you.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, that's awesome, man. We got a couple of questions here. Kenneth wants to know, John, how far is Frisco from Houston?
4 hours or so.
Okay.
Depending on if you're doing the speed limit.
And Gene Gurley, well, Paul, if you don't actually diagnose the problem, you'll never know what code you should use. That is very true. My point was that there were a number of dealerships using codes to get certain reimbursements when it's not necessarily that that's what was wrong with the car. We've seen stuff like that happen. So you got good support at the store, David?
Oh, gosh, yes.
John, do you see from an ownership standpoint, from an executive management standpoint, are dealerships generally supportive of this kind of stuff, or do they even care?
Nah, I don't think they care one way or another. I hearing David talk, and we were talking about training earlier. One of the things I meant to say was that I think one of the other areas where training is lacking is for the fact there's a lot of service managers that are sit in the chair. They play the role. Either they're not trained or qualified for that position themselves, or what I see happen normally is they're busy putting out fires all day long, and they don't even have time to pay attention to the training. And it's just like you said, they get to the end of the quarter and they get an email from the partner or the owner who says, "Hey, we haven't met our minimum training requirements. We got to get these courses done this week." And they go into panic mode to just get the manufacturer courses done, which in my opinion, the manufacturer courses are great. They're very
basic.
They will never put you on the service drive, in my opinion. I mean, it's very bland. It's very generic scenarios. On the job training is by far the best. In fact, my wife, that's how she got into it. I mean, she was in medical administration in a hospital, and I was consulting at a dealer at that time, doing some service drive training and having a blast. And she's like, "Hey, you think I could do that?" I said, "Sure. If you don't mind getting your teeth bashed in and, eating a gallon of ice cream every once in a while because you're depressed." She's a people person. She enjoys talking to people and meeting people. She's a problem solver. And so she came into it. The dealer let us bring her on, but we put her by my side for the first 60 days. And then the next 30 days, she was put at the desk next to me. It's like I told her, I said, "Hey, do it this way every single time." And new advisor, it's going to take 90 days or better for them to come across every customer scenario they're going to come across. Because not only are you the plethora of customer personalities to deal with, you have the DMS, all the training, all the different extended warranties that you got to learn how to deal with. And so she did that on the service drive. We moved her to the express lane. We had a detached express lane, and she went over there and just dominated because I think it was a great transition because she started in the hardest area of the dealership. Now she's over with the express lane where it's very repetitive. It's pretty much the same thing every time a customer hits. Hey, I need an oil change. I need a tire rotation. And she went to the express lane in within 4 months of her being there. And this was the end of 2017. Second quarter of 2018, she made the top 10 list with Mopar as one of the top 10 advisors in the country for her.
Wow.
For the money that she earned from Mopar. And she did that on the express lane. So she beat out the guys that should be making the big money on the service drive.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the training that she got, I mean, she had a pretty good trainer. But it was very, I mean, you have to be consistent. And I don't know, I haven't met many service managers that have that type of time to devote to a particular advisor, be it a veteran or a brand new advisor, so they often delegate that to a service drive manager or what have you. But I mean, it's got to be consistent. And I believe the inconsistency that lies inside of our hiring, inside of our training, that's where these vendors come in. That's where these kiosks comes in. That's where all these companies come in and say, hey, we'll automate your business for you. You don't need those people anymore. You just need somebody that can take a key and wave. I don't know if you ever seen I watch a lot of cartoons because I have 4 kids, but the penguins from Madagascar, I make a joke at service advisors.
The penguins are crazy.
I know, but there's a scene where they say, hey, boys, just smile and wave. Just smile.
Cute and cuddly, boys. Cute and cuddly.
Right. That's almost like all we expect advisors to do now. Don't get too involved with the customer. We have a kiosk for that, or we have this software. It's going to take care of all that. Just take their keys and get them out of here. The art of really advising a customer is fading. You
have to build the relationship, and you can't build a relationship with a machine.
Mm-mm. And you can't do it with an untrained advisor. I mean, if you stick an advisor out there and you just throw them to the wolves, I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the customers a disservice. Many of you saw the post that I made months back when I was at the Chevy store that I had back in the end of January. I had recruited and hired those 3 individuals to come in and work on the drive. And what was unique about those 3 individuals, I met them via doing an open interview, an open group interview. I had never done it before. I brought them in because all of their personalities stuck out really well. But what I learned after I hired them is individually, each of those people had a friend or a relative told them, hey, you would be good as a service advisor. Only because the person that told them was in fact already a service advisor or worked in parts or what have you. And that was true. I brought these people in. They had the will, the desire to do something different.
But not the experience.
Yeah, they didn't have the experience, but they wanted to learn and they were eager to learn. But it took 30 days, definitely a hard 30 days of every day. Guys, we have to do it this way. I mean, I said they were sitting beside each other in the same office, separate desks. And I lived in that office every day because I knew how important it was. But a lot of guys get too caught up in the reports and the numbers and the emails, and they're putting around a bunch of other fires, and they don't get to do that. So.
Now, speaking of fires, Gene Girdley says, John, who's creating most of the fires? Is it the managers, the GM, the dealer principal, the OEM, or somebody else? And he loves your story about your wife, by the way.
A lot of it comes from micromanagers. The guys that are, and I'll be honest, early on, I got thrown into the chair too early. I think that used to be me. The guys that don't understand that there's different routes that'll get us to the same destination. Those are the guys that are starting the fires. The Iron Hammer, Iron Fist. I've not really had much problem with GMs. Maybe 1 or 2 of them that's really involved in the community and their friends always come in to get their car service. Those guys are starting the fires. I think it's an array of people. I don't think it's zeroed in just to one person.
Now we got a couple comments coming in here. Let's see. Mike Vogel says, Gene, I'd say managers are guilty of the fires. Some OEMs, but not all.
Yeah.
He follows that up with service directors / managers must take the time to work with their team, which is exactly
Yes.
what you did and what's happening with David.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Our when it's extremely busy, like the last couple of days has just been crazy for us, which is good. Our service manager, our assistant service manager, even the owner of our company has come out there and has been writing up cars and helping us out. So that shows me when that shows me that they're not above me. They're a team. We're all a team. Let's make it work and let's get through it. And that's what keeps me motivated to work harder and to show up every day and not worry about what I make or numbers or anything. Seeing
Then
them
lead
work.
by example.
Yes.
But it's culture. It's just what you said a moment ago, working together as a team. You know, one of the things that's not in that list that Gene asked is a lot of times it's the culture that creates the fire. And if you get everybody, David, with the mindset that you have, if you get everybody that's on the same page that has one common goal, and the common goal at a service drive in a service department and parts should be serving the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
No matter what hits the drive, the fact that you have Toyota or Chevrolet on the building means you got to take whatever drives in, and whatever the customer starts to say, the answer's got to be yes.
Yeah.
You just, and everybody has to have that mentality. Albeit the technicians are hidden from the customer, they still have to realize it's all about the customer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you get in a culture where you've got a few, maybe an advisor here or a parts person or a couple of technicians, and they're more about the me than the we, that starts a lot of fires too.
Now, I go into stores where I have a tremendous amount of respect for the dealer principal that at 7:30 in the morning is in the drive, seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
Has a hand on the ball, knows the pulse of the store, is there, knows everybody by name, sees what's missing, where needs attention. There are those guys out there.
Sure. Yeah.
We got a couple things coming in here. Ed Roberts says yes to your spending the time, you and your manager, David, spending the time. And Aaron says, I'm a little late, but eager to learn. We're all eager to learn. And Gene Girdley, amen, John, culture. It is all about the culture. If the culture sucks, so will the store.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron, our esteemed master tech, says, don't forget your techs. We fill out the MPI,
Yes.
we do the videos, we do the actual work. We never get seen. Have a great day. And he's right. And
He's
when,
very right.
to your point, you don't really see the text. I think that's changing now to a certain extent because I think more and more stores are getting into doing the tech videos.
Sure. Yeah. The more we can engage the customer and break down that wall between the waiting room and the shop, it's all about transparency. And if you've got the technician with the right attitude about what the RO means, I mean, I haven't met a technician yet that doesn't like to share his knowledge, and so he gets to put on a little show with the MPI through the video, and he gets to explain and he gets to build value in what he's spent years learning to the customer.
Yeah.
Now,
We don't do the video, but if a customer wants to talk to a tech or needs or has a question about something, all of our techs are more than welcome to come up to the service shop or say, hey, why don't you bring the customer back to us? And they will sit there and take 20 minutes and explain everything, break it down for the customer to make sure they understand what the customer needs, and they won't do. If the customer says no, let's not do that, they're like, fine, cool, that's fine. If we want to make you happy and we want to do the right for you. So all of our techs are amazing.
I I had a tech, Paul, I have to tell you, one of the most amazing techs I ever got to work with, a guy by the name of Wade. Every single car he worked on, he wrote a thank you card. He stuck it on the dash, and it said, "Hey, if you have any problems with your car after this visit, call me." And he'd leave his cell phone number in the car.
That's awesome, man.
That is cool. That is really cool.
Now, I'm going to drop something here that nobody's doing, and hopefully some dealers pick up on this, okay? When you're sitting in the service department, you're either watching Oprah, if that show's even on. I don't watch TV, so I don't know what's playing these days. But you're either watching that, or you're watching a bunch of OEM commercials or some cheesy commercials for your own store. I got a new idea for everybody. Big screens in the bays. So you've got, when you're sitting there, who wouldn't be interested in the tech working on their car? Who would not be interested in that?
Yeah.
Where you're sitting there and you're watching on this big screen, you're watching a guy fix one car. On another big screen, you're watching a guy fix another car. I mean, how interesting would that be?
Yeah. Well, many of the new like Kia stores and Nissan dealerships, I've seen a Ford store, they have a glass wall between the waiting room and the shop. So, it's back to that idea of breaking down the wall and creating transparency, because when a customer hits the drive and they tell all the stuff to the advisor writes it all down, unless it's a severe drivability issue, everything we're doing to the customer's car, when they leave, they don't
behind the curtain.
There's no effect, So.
Yeah, and the glass, I like the glass, where you can see the whole shop.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're one-on-one, it's almost like a reality show for technicians, right?
Right.
Where you see the guys actually working on the car. I think that would be beyond powerful.
Some of the things we probably wouldn't want to see, though.
Well, if you know you're on camera, some things you're not going to do.
Yeah, one of my technicians from my last store, he sent me a video the other day. They had a car fall off the lift. So that would be horrific for the customer to see their car fall off the lift.
Well, that I agree. I've run several aftermarket shops, and they always tell you, don't leave the car as it's coming down, right? You stay with the car until it hits the ground. Well, it's the summer. I'm busy. I have 6 techs under me, not literally, but 6 techs that working for me. And I hit the and the car's going down, and I walk away. I'm heading towards the office when I see one of the guys pointing behind me, and I turn around, and the quarter panel is hooked on a ladder that was left just under the car. So the car is like, any second now, that car is going down. I ran back, I flipped the lever, and the car went back up, and no damage, and the car didn't fall off. But yeah, I could definitely see that happen. We got a couple of things coming through here. Gene agrees. Tex, Mike Vogel says the goal needs to be to stop fires from starting in the first place. I've always said that it's better to implement a good fire prevention strategy than to spend your day chasing fires. Absolutely. And then we have Aaron says, if you get the techs behind you, they can push the store. Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Because Ron says, I sold a lot of jobs. Anthony Nicotera, the tech probably wouldn't like it. Will take time to adjust. You know what? It's like most of the people I drag on camera. Initially, they don't like it either. But I have clients that they don't want to do video. And I said, look, you need to do video. That's it. You need to do it. And sometimes it takes longer than others. I end up doing most of them for them. But over time, now I've got a lot doing their own videos, and they're doing a great job. And I just need to coach a little bit. Hey, this is what you need to do with the positioning. This is what you need to do with the editing. So yeah, absolutely. It takes the techs a little bit of time to warm up to it. And yes, some may not like it, but let's think about it. If I'm going to spend $9,000, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 on a facility that not only provides for my family, but for all of yours, and I can help you understand the why, so that I can teach you the how, then they may be apprehensive at first, but if they truly understand what the benefit is to each and every person in that store, then I think they'll get on board and they'll do it. And because you have to get them to want to do it for them.
Yeah.
You can't, to get them to want to do it for me is meaningless, means nothing, because they'll only do it while I'm there. But if I can get them to do it for them, and with periodic check-ins, then you don't need to babysit them, because if they understand it and they want to do it for them, then that builds the culture that everybody's after, and so many fail to see. Ron says, let's see here. Ron says, we need more money to be actors. See, that's the beauty of the internet today. You don't need to be a professional actor, because people want authenticity. They want you. They want the John Fraziers. They want the David Munfords of the world. That's what they want. They don't want a perfectly scripted show. They don't. They want to deal with real people that they get to know, that they like, and that they can trust with all of their repairs. Because at that point, they're just coming back for more stuff. You sell the yellow, you sell the green, you sell the red, whatever's needed at the time. But if you do it properly and you focus on servicing the customer, as we all agree, then the rest of it's really easy. And by getting the techs involved and making them, as Ron says, actors, yeah, I think, there's nothing better than going into a store and having the feeling in here that you know everybody that's there. And everybody that's there knows you. They greet you by name. They know your story. If this person's not in this day, you could just talk to the other person without a problem. There's no agenda. And Gene says, that's hilarious, Ron. Tully says, we have the windows to the shop. It's 10 by 20. 10 by 20. Is that inches or feet, Tully? And Ron says, when the car comes down, run.
No.
Mike Vogel says, I had an express department that had a glass window with a coffee bar that customers loved. And Gene says, great seeing you guys. Praying emojis. Yeah, people like that kind of stuff. And you're right. I go into so many stores that there's a brick wall between the service department. When their car rounds the turn and goes into the abyss, now what?
Yeah.
They're going to hit me up for something. They're going to try to sell me a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And they all told me, don't buy. So yeah, no, we got some great dialogue going here. So yeah, so the culture is the most important. David, how many advisors are in your team?
Let me see. We just came back. There is 1, 2, 3. There's 5 of us right now.
Okay, 5 in total or 5 on your team?
5 in total.
Okay.
5 total.
Now, John, do you see, what do you prefer? Do you prefer 2 teams, 3 teams, 1? What's your preference?
As far as advisor teams or advisor and tech teams?
And tech teams.
I mean, it all depends on the advisor to tech ratio. I think a good advisor that is really well-rounded. If I want him to take care of my customer really well, if it's service, I don't want him really messing with any more than 10 or 12 customers a day. If it's service and express lane, maybe 15.
Yeah.
But I think each advisor needs to be able to, if I'm going to do teams in the shop, I need to be able to rely on, at least 3 to 4 technicians for each advisor.
Yeah.
And shops don't have that luxury. Or maybe they do have enough techs, but maybe the skill isn't spread about. They don't have enough technicians that are skilled in this to serve each advisor.
Yeah.
So I've done it both ways. I've often had a lot of success at doing like 2 super teams. You got one side of the shop and the other side of the shop. Man, it creates great competition between the two, and you
I
can
love
move
that.
away with assigning these 2 or 3 advisors to this side of the shop and this 2 or 3 to this side, and we would compete for at the end of the month. The winning whoever turned the most hours got steak dinner, and the
Yeah.
other had to eat hot dogs. um, you know, but it was great, and it created a friendly environment. So I kind of like that. I mean, if you got into a bigger scenario, like, Glenda works at a BMW store in Grapevine, and, they have 45 or 50 technicians, in their shop. So they're able to spread it up where each advisor gets to have 5 or 6 technicians. So, I think you got to look at that tech advisor to tech ratio and make sure, because I don't want to assign a team and the advisor not be able to write enough to make a check. On the flip side too, I don't want the weakest advisor to get this team of techs and they feel like that they got shortchanged.
Right. That's always a delicate balance because
Yeah.
you're dealing with so many different personalities, so many different skill levels. It's almost impossible to set something up where it's deemed 100% even or fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to do that. The 10 by 20 feet, the 10 by 20 Tully says is feet. So yeah, that's a decent size window to see into the shop. And yeah, customers would love it because customers are always interested. When I ran the aftermarket shops, the customers would stand behind, outside the bays, but it wasn't aftermarket shops, not like a dealership where it's air conditioned. We're talking old school. Doors are open in the heat of the summer and the guys are working on there, sometimes saying some things that aren't very nice.
Yeah.
But the customers used to love standing outside the bay and watching it. And every once in a while they'd slip in, they know they're not supposed to go in, but they'd slip in and they're talking to the tech while he's working under the hood. But they love that ship. They really do. They feel connected to the shop and they feel connected to their car. And that's why I'm saying, the glass is good, but I'm thinking that like on the big screen, the guy working, and maybe even once in a while say, hey, I'm about to change the oil on this car now. Here's the oil, here's the O-ring, this is what we do, things like that. Or even explainer videos on the big screen. Just to put everybody at ease that they feel comfortable, that they know everything that's going on. Let's see here. Tully says 3 techs to 1 writer. That's 27 hours a day because Tully factors 9 hours per tech on average. Ed says, I believe we have to take care of our people. Happy employees make happy customers. Disgruntled employees make disgruntled customers. No joke. Who's that guy that's got the airline? Branson? Is that his name?
Yeah. Richard.
Yeah. Sir Richard, I think, right?
Yeah.
Sir Richard.
Sir Richard. Yeah. Take care of your employees, and your employees will take care of the customer. That is no secret. Aaron says, I have a lot of customers that stand outside the stall and watch or walk inside constantly. Yeah, my point exactly. A little more difficult to do at a dealership level, I think, just by virtue of how this stuff is spaced out. You're looking at a giant shop where, 30 bays here, 30 bays there. It's a little harder for the customer to just kind of slip into something like that. And Mike Vogel says 100%. Thumbs up emoji. Ron Usher says trust. Tully says spot on, Ed. Yeah, absolutely. What other things do you see that could better the service experience for the customer, David?
Goodness. I think just keep doing what we're doing and just make the customers feel like they're at home, which we do, which our dealership doesn't. Like when I walked in, like on my first day, I didn't feel like it was a dealership because I kind of grew up having the attitude of, okay, dealerships are all cheapskates. They're going to try to get the money out of you. It's not that way at our dealership, and a lot of the customers don't feel like that. They've been there for I've talked to customers that have bought 7 or 8 vehicles from our dealership throughout the years, and they want to only come to our dealership.
That's awesome.
The way we treat them, they're like, we have some customers that'll drive 2 hours just to come to us because they love our dealership. They love the way they're treated. They love the amount of time they get it done, and how they fit when they leave. The customers leave with a smile on their face. They may come in and had a really bad experience. They had something really bad going on, but when they leave happy, and they're like, "Hey, we'll be back next time. Thank you for taking care of me today."
And to your point, I drive 1 hour one way to my dealer for service. I wait there, or if it's a major service I'm going in for, then they'll give me, if I want a car, they'll give me a car regardless.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But I kind of like hanging out there, honestly. I talk to the people there. I hang out in the service director's office. They bring in food, all kinds of stuff. It's like family.
Yeah, it really is. Ours is.
So
even our general manager does not stay in his office. He's always talking to customers. He's always out hanging out with customers, just making sure they feel welcome. So seeing that makes me want to go back every day.
now, and here's the funny part, right? So we talk about, well, we don't talk about the reality of the business is that 7 out of 10 customers will go to somebody other than a dealer to service their car. Okay. 82% of the dealerships, of the customers, will go someplace other than their selling dealer. But yet, you have people that drive 2 hours. I'm a guy that drives 2 hours. So what does that really tell you? We have the opportunity, if we build the culture in our stores, to have people come back to us. Because if I drive 2 hours round trip and your customers drive 2 hours round trip, and John, I'm sure you've seen people that have
not
driven
2 hours round trip. It would be 4 hours round trip. We have people
4 hours round trip.
4 hours. We have people that drive from Murphy, North Carolina, which is an hour. And then I've talked to some people that drive, they're like 2 hours past, they're like Andrews, North Carolina, which is close to Asheville. They'll drive 2 hours just to come to us because they bought their car with us. They only want us to touch their vehicle. So 4 hours just to come to us for us to work on their vehicle.
That's friggin' strong. That's stronger than garlic.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I thought I was crazy for driving an hour.
No, when I talk to people, they're like, when I set up appointments, they're like, "Yeah, we're about 2 hours. We'll be 2 hours out. Could we have a vehicle?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can. I'll make something work. We'll try to do what we can." But most of them are like, "We'll just wait. We don't care to wait. We know you guys will do a good job. We'll just wait."
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So what are your long-term aspirations for this business?
I don't know yet. I guess I'm
That's fair.
just taking it day by day and seeing where now that I'm kind of doing a little bit more, getting my feet wet a little bit more on the service drive with more vehicles, with more services. I just take it day by day and be like, "Okay, what do I get to do today?" Because I don't know. I know I'll be there till the day I leave, because when I was gone for 2 months, they were begging me to come back, and then when I finally came back, from the sales team all the way back, they're like, "Oh, thank God you're back. We need you. We need you back. We need you back." Because I don't sit behind the desk. I'll be talking to customers. I'll make sure the customers are taken care of. I treat them how I want to be treated.
That's awesome. We got a couple of comments coming in here. Let's see. Tully says, "Spot on, Ed." Ron says, "Can we get an extra hour for the show tonight?" Now we kind of have to stick to the schedule, Ron. Jay says, "Good group of guys there." Kenneth says, "David, I bought 3 Toyota Camrys from Sterling McCall Toyota. My current Camry is a 2000. And Mike Vogel says, "There's no secret sauce to all the basics when it comes to customer handling. Really, and consistently. Trust, value, convenience equals wow. Absolutely. And Aaron says, let's see, what does Aaron say? There we go. Besides the familiarity of the dealership, what are the top 3 things that you look for when getting service?
Ooh.
John?
From the customer standpoint, you think?
I think so. You're talking about the customer standpoint, right, Aaron?
I mean, the top 2 things we all know is it's about time and it's about cost.
Yeah.
You know, and I think both of those things just roll up in how convenient. I don't know if there'd be a third thing, but I mean, how long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost me? You know, the fundamentals of this business haven't changed all that much. I think it's still like Mike said, there's no secret sauce to it. The demands of the customer have changed. So time, cost, being able to exceed my expectations and meet the needs that I have as a, you know, busy customer, you know, give me a loaner, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think on the 2 of the concerns as to why people don't go back are cost and convenience, or
Yeah.
I should say perceived, because we all know that we are at the dealer level, we are extremely competitive.
Yeah.
Right? We're very competitive. And in some cases I've seen, because I mystery shop with regularity, I've seen that the dealers are actually less than the aftermarket for a better part.
Yeah, sure.
Mike Vogel says effort equals results, which is 1,000% true. Jay says some pretty loyal customers to drive that far away. Pretty great stuff. Glad to hear that you're back working, David. And Aaron says, yes, lots more time, please. All right, we'll go over a little bit. Well, how's that? Is that fair? I don't know that we can go an hour, but yeah, no, it's so key. You know, it's really not that difficult.
No.
You know,
It's how you treat. It's how you treat the customers. It's if you treat them like family. If you treat them like someone in your home, you're gonna keep that retention. You're gonna have those customers that keep coming back year after year and buy more vehicles.
And they'll bring you more people. I mean,
Yes,
your best source of referral is your happy customer.
Yeah.
Right.
Paul, you said a moment ago, you asked David what we could do to better the experience for the customer. One of the things that I'm continually working towards in my career, going back to the culture, is I think we have to create a culture of accountability. And it's not just about managers holding their team accountable. I think we got to have accountability on all levels. There's too many times in every dealership I've ever worked, every dealership I've ever visited as a consultant, too many times people just turn a blind eye to something that this guy's doing or that guy's doing. You know, we all have to, whether it's advisor to advisor, technician to advisor, parts to advisor, or vice versa, we all have to be aware of the value that the customer brings, and we all need to be able to call each other out when something's not happening right.
Right.
And from the management standpoint, you know, we've all heard the term, you know, inspect what you expect. You know, it's just probably one of the most said terms. Yes, but that's great, and any manager that can say that. But does your team expect you to inspect what you expect?
Ooh.
Do you get that? Does your team expect you to inspect what you expect? Because I can say I'm going to hold you accountable, but I mean, you said a moment ago, you know, we shouldn't have to babysit the process. We shouldn't have to babysit the machine. We should be able to check in periodically, and you got to have a grasp on it. And your team needs to be able to hold each other accountable too. You know, one advisor sees something going wrong over here. This advisor's not doing something right. Everybody needs to step in and take care of that customer, and the customers will feel that loyalty to them, or they'll feel respected. Their time will be respected. They'll feel valued. The other thing I think that dealers need to do, and I experience this a lot through Glenda because of where she works. I've seen no group do it better than the Sewell Automotive Group. Is dealers need to work towards becoming a brand. It's not about Chevy or Ford or Dodge. They need to be their own brand. Living here in North Texas, anytime you sit down and watch TV, you'll see a commercial come on for the Sewell Automotive Group, and it's not I bought a BMW or I bought a Lexus. I bought a Sewell. You know? And that's where that loyalty comes in. And so too many dealers are, like I said, they're not worried about. It's a one-hit wonder. We're going to get the customer. Right. We're going to take them for all they got. But, they may never come back. We probably hope they never come back because we're going to ruin it on this visit. And we're going to take all the money we can make. And the accountability goes out the window. Brand loyalty, all that stuff goes out the window. And we just hope we gain a new customer.
You want to know a scary thing too? So we know the number of customers that go back to a dealer for a service. On the sales side of it, okay, let's flip the variable ops for a moment. Any store you walk into and you ask them about retention, immediately the chest gets bigger. They start pounding, right? Oh yeah, we got 90% retention. We got 80% retention. All this bullshit when the industry statistics don't back that up, right? I worked with a big company. And one of the products that I sold was an equity mining product, a very good equity mining product. And they did deployments. When you do a deployment, you go into your database and you're able to see what the true numbers are for retention. Yeah. Not these numbers, the real numbers. And what they found in looking at a lot of stores is that the average retention on the variable ops side of things was around 20 to 22%. So think about that. You got 70% going elsewhere for service, and you got 80% buying from another dealer. But yet, you can buy a Sewell.
Yeah.
Right? In training the store, before you even get into a lot of the things that we do mechanically, right? Because what we do, yes, we build relationships, but we also do our jobs mechanically. The proper walk-around has a certain sequence of events that involves a certain amount of interaction between customers, right?
Yep.
The best I love is the lanyard around each advisor's neck for the tire check.
Yeah.
With the customer. Even if you have a machine, and the machines are awesome, right? And I know how much you love machines, John. Machines are awesome. You could drive onto that bad boy, and it'll tell you if you're out of alignment, when your tire wears off, and it'll tell you why your tire wears off, right? But guess what? They spend all this money on the machine, and they don't involve the customer in that process, right? I would grab that printout, and I would look at it, and the customer and I would be side to side, maybe a little more distant today just because we're in a freak zone. But generally speaking, I would have my report and I would educate the customer. Hey, here's a picture. Let me tell you about our machine. This is what you drove over. This machine can see within a fraction of a hair. It's got to be pretty small because I don't see any hair up here, but you know what I mean. And I would share that data with the customer and I would show them. And then to back it up, I would go down on one knee and show them with the lanyard, hey, look, this is where you are, and get the customer to come down and look at it.
Yeah.
Right? I spend so much time on the why. Because until they get the why, they're not going to give a shit about the how.
Sure. Yeah.
If you get everybody bought in on the why, and everybody, like you said, they see somebody else doing something that's not quite right, they look the other way or they're not involved. But when everybody understands the why, maybe not in front of the customer, but hey, John, I can't help but overhear what you told that customer. Why would you say that when when maybe this is a better way to say it. Not to call them up, but maybe this is a better way to say it. Or maybe David, this is a better way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It isn't until they understand the why that the how matters, because then you truly develop a culture where you have cohesion and everybody's pulling in the same direction.
Sure.
I'd rather manage the process. We talked about putting out fires and the difference between implementing a good fire prevention strategy and being the fireman of the year. I don't want to be the fireman of the year. Matter of fact, I don't want to get on the truck at all. I'd rather have everybody set it up so that they don't have fires.
Yeah.
Right? But they do have a fire, that guess what? I got a sprinkler system that's going to take care of that. Now you need to call a contractor, not the fire department.
Yeah. Proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, because reactive, you lose.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Nobody wins with the reactive. We got a couple of comments coming here. Let's see. David says, glad you're back working. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I think.
I want to
And
answer the question here.
Aaron says, yes. Ron, Ed says, I think Ron Usher is looking for a flat rate hour.
We'll call your service manager.
Let's see. Ed Roberts, Ron Usher's got the multiple thumbs up emojis going. Jay says, how do you guys check in without seeming like you're micromanaging?
So, yes, that one, I've been itching to answer this one since you asked it, Jay. I do two things. So I think the most important means of checking in but not seeming like you're micromanaging or keeping your thumb on them is just being present. I've worked under and I've seen a lot of the guys that manage from their office, and they send out an email with a bunch of numbers and a bunch of exclamation points, and they do it daily because they're not getting the numbers that they want. But what these guys won't do is they won't get out from their desk and just be present. When interviewing for a job and a dealer asked me what I feel like a good attribute or one of my daily things is that brings value to the team, I said, I'm just present. I'm going to go stand on the drive for a couple hours in the morning. I'm going to go have a meeting with the technicians in the morning. I'm going to go touch everybody and just see how everything is. But I'm also going to send an email out every single day. I'm not going to badger them with it. They can read. I don't need to say, hey, David, your hours per RO really stinks. You need to get them up. I don't have to say all that, because if I set the expectations properly, they can read it. And I just send it out every day. It's in front of them. They know what my expectations are. And then I'm just present throughout the day. So they know that I'm watching. But I just don't badger or belittle anybody with it.
And you're there to help. If they know you're there. So if they need your help, they're going to get it.
Right.
Now, a lot of times I see bottlenecks between the service desk and the parts desk. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be the urgency sometimes in fulfilling the order. Is that anything either of you have ever run across?
Well, we know what Tully would say about that. Pay them off of hours.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I have. I think it can be a bottleneck. Technicians can get back there and just kind of lollygag around, or the dealer doesn't have the software in place. X-Time and CDK, a lot of those tools have, it takes out a lot of footsteps between the shop, the parts, and the drive.
CDK
so not having those things in place creates that. But and again, it goes back to the culture.
Right.
Like the technicians, many of the parts guys are unseen. They're behind closed doors, and you got to get them to buy into caring about the customer.
It's funny. Not all stores have the technology because they don't want to spend the money, quite frankly.
Right.
But Toyota did a study years ago on the average amount of time that a technician wastes, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can call it different things depending on how you want to spin it, but the reality is the amount of time the technician spends out of his bay per day. And do either of you know what that number was?
No.
That's probably a couple hours.
1.5 hours, right? So do the math. How many technicians in the average store?
10.
10
Yeah. Oh.
times an hour and a half
Yeah.
times the effective labor rate
Yeah.
times 26 days in a month times 12. How much money is that?
I'll tell you in just a second. So that's so that's about a $500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah.
How much is five? You don't have to give me an exact number, but if I told both of you guys that you're going to get paid on an additional $500,000 worth of business, would that put a smile on both of your faces?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Would that put a smile on the dealer principal's face?
Certainly.
Oh yeah.
So then the question of the day is, why can't they afford to do that?
They gotta want to.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy though when you think about it?
They can't afford not to do it.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of money, I think I heard somebody say recently, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies or something to that
Yeah.
effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff. Now, drop off and pickup is a big thing today because of people's concerns.
Mhm.
Is that something that you guys have implemented yet, David, in your store?
We no, but we do have a guy that will go pick up customers' vehicles. Like if they're working during the day, he will go get them and bring them to us. But
Yeah.
no, like just as a COVID thing, we don't implement that. We have our showroom or
Yeah.
our waiting area spaced out where customers can still wait.
Yeah.
And I have seen, since I've been back the last 2 weeks, I have seen a lot more people using the drop offs than
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So it's not a requirement at ours. So
Before the pandemic hit, can you guess as to what percentage of waiters you had? Was it half the people?
Probably. Yeah, it's probably 50-50. And
And
now
you guys utilize a shuttle to drop people off?
we have our general we have a guy that we don't have a shuttle, but we do have a guy that will go pick up customers' cars, and then like our porters or some of our other guys, we do have people that will take people back to work if they need to, but we don't have a shuttle that does that.
How about you, John? Where some of the experiences you've had? A lot of waiters, and I realize each OEM is different.
Yeah, pre-COVID, it was just oil changes. I would say probably 30-40% of our business would be waiters. We did have a shuttle service that ran during COVID. Before I'd left there, we did start doing some pickup and delivery. It really wasn't high in demand in that area. Where we were, I mean, Uber, all your rideshare services were really available, and everything was closed. So a lot of people would Uber, or they'd have somebody pick them up. So,
in the Northeast, we got whacked the hardest. So in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut areas, quite a bit different than down south or in Texas.
Yeah.
So where, like for instance, David's store was open the whole time. I think you told me that, right?
We were rocking during the whole thing, and I think that's just as how our dealership is. We didn't tell people we treated people the same way we treated when we were before COVID started. It's just the way we treat them, and they wanted to keep coming back, and that's how we treat everybody. So we just keep right on rolling. We're having a hard time getting vehicles in right now, but I think it's because people come to us buy vehicles or come to us get services done. They know they'll get done. They know they will be treated with respect, and they want to come to us. So,
Yeah, it's really no secret. People make it harder than it needs to be.
yeah,
It is a hard job, though. It is one of the most difficult roles, without a doubt.
Oh,
We got a couple of things, comments here. It says, great point. People take their cars to other people, not the repair facilities. Jay gives the triple clapping hands emoji. And Ron Usher says pick up and drop off and free oil change for healthcare workers. Yeah, I think that would be a very, very good thing to do. Because these people are putting their lives on the line.
yeah.
You know, it's some scary stuff that's going on here today. So, any other final words? Any other questions that we have before we wind it down? We went way over today, but you guys asked for it, so we did it. I hate to cut anybody short when there are more questions coming in. So, any questions from you guys before we call it a night here? Going once, going twice. So David, John, I want to thank you guys for being on the show. This was absolutely awesome. I appreciate the feedback. You're sharing your stories and the knowledge drop. And hopefully there's some people out there that saw some benefit in this. Share this amongst your automotive group, anybody you think would benefit from this. And as always, feel free to tell them about the show, Sunday Night Live, Sundays from 8 to 9 p.m. or sometimes later, depending on requests, Eastern time. And on Tuesday nights, the Fixed Ops Mastermind. Make sure you join that as well, because that is an incredible organization. David Foy, if you're not connected with him, reach out to him to join that. That's how I met David, through that group. And you can jumpstart your career. You don't have to take 40 years to learn something. You could benefit from guys like John that have been in there doing it, guys like me that have been out there for a long time doing it. And again, I want to thank you. And we'll see you next Sunday on Sunday Night Live. Guys, stay on for the end here. Hold on one second.